many partners as physically possible. If a man makes it to 30 and is still a virgin, he's probably going to hide it more than a woman will. I've met people who were aces that said that doctors or psychologists insisted that their sexuality of being ace was a symptom of being broken and trying to fix them. And even in the legalities of marriage, a lot of states still have laws on the books that say if you don't consummate a marriage, it's not legal. Adoption or custody battles. Laws tend to favor married couples over single people. Tax incentives, tax breaks. And when society sells everything with sex, they don't realize that not everybody finds sex attractive. Not everybody requires sex to be a part of anything. Or maybe they want sex to look different. And that's one thing I think heterosexual people have to learn, is that not everybody wants the same thing. But it's heterosexual people, by and large, that create the society we have. The commercials, the ads, the billboards, everything. Everything in the world is sold by sex. I can't even imagine what it's like growing up and feeling like, what's wrong with me? A lot of people think I'm asexual because I grew up in such a sexually repressed environment at home and at churches. I didn't even have a sexual awakening until I was 27. A lot of people in the queer community deny that asexual people fear oppression, being discriminated against. There is a lot of oppression that exists. And they have threats of violence as well. It's social suicide to admit you don't want to have sex or couple off with people. I mean, if they had inserted an asexual character in any major heteronormative TV show, I can imagine how that would have gone. Sticking an asexual character in The Big Bang Theory, Sex and the City. I mean, there were episodes where people who were bi or trans appeared. It wasn't handled very well. Because normal society, and when I say normal, I'm saying the toxic, normal group, believe that everyone is chasing sex, but that's not true. There's a good portion of women now who are abstinent, but has nothing to do with asexuality. Personally, I think for women and their emotional and mental health, women are the most happy when they're celibate, because they don't have to deal with toxic types of men. Asexual people grow up being told what you have is not a thing. It's a deviation. People threaten asexual people with, a guy could fix you. Men try to date asexual people to coerce them into being a normal girlfriend. Because our society is so uncomfortable with vulnerability and intimacy without sex, people don't know how to process it. You watch a scene in a television show. If a girl just wants to cuddle on the bed, the boy is usually showed as disappointed. Because in our culture, we've been taught that sex and intimacy are the same thing. They're not. They can be if it exists usually between people who are committed to each other. But sex isn't intimacy, it's not vulnerability unless you make it that way. If it was true that sex was vulnerable, men don't see it that way in our toxic society. And asexuals can sometimes be attacked by their own group. And there's so many forms of asexuality. We need to stop stereotyping. If someone says they're asexual, we need to stop just running to the stereotype of, oh, you don't want relationships, sex, or marriage. You never know what people want. And just because someone has never dated or they haven't dated in 2 years doesn't make them asexual. I hope it means they're prioritizing their needs, desires, and their goals. But it doesn't make someone anything. And we need to stop labeling asexual relationships as friendships unless the people involved have called it a friendship. And in the 90s, an advice columnist asked her reader if married couples could enjoy a full life without sex. And she received almost 50,000 responses from people who were in sexless marriages, had little sex, or no sex, and didn't miss it. The problem with people expecting a relationship or a human being to look like everybody else is asinine. No asexual person is trying to push their agenda on people. They just want to be understood, respected, and held in high esteem. And we can't do that until everyone is educated about asexuality. And it's hard when parents don't want their kids to learn anything but the sterile view of having kids and being married. And religion isn't helping. Luckily, there are a few churches out there that are more friendly, but it is not overall, and it's not consistent. Seventh-day Adventists oppose any form of asexuality. Roman Catholicism, if an act or something can't give you children, they usually aren't okay with it. And it's a very toxic pattern. And we need to get over it. And that's going to start with education. Unfortunately, in conservative homes and schools, they're erasing But as long as religious people believe that the best way to live your life is to be married with kids, having sex, people are going to be harmed. And there's nothing wrong with living your life any way you want, as long as it makes you happy, it's legal, and it makes everyone's lives better that's involved. Be honest about what you want and what you don't want. And celibacy is a great thing. But only accepting celibacy to do religious work instead doesn't always have to be the norm. People aren't staying single, by and large, to do God's work. That's not why they're single. It's because it's a choice. Sometimes it's not the right time. Or maybe they just don't want to get married. And the more traditional an environment is, the lack of education usually follows. And it's not having the education, it's the limited desire to gain that education. Because churches wouldn't last very long if everyone stopped having kids. Some relationships, their focus, they want it to be on each other, not on sex or having kids. And some people want it halfway. They want a relationship without the sex. Maybe once in a while they have a desire and then they don't for a while. And some people, they don't want anything romantic or marriage. Some people choose to have partnerships. The problem is shaming people and just expecting everybody to be like everyone else. And people who are homophobic, they don't want people to be different. When Christians become homophobic, they want to control who we marry or don't marry, how we have sex, our bodily autonomy. They want to keep us from gender-affirming care. They want to limit access to birth control and abortion. It's all about control. And when people don't fit into the little, tightly wrapped present that makes everyone look the same, then you're seen as a threat. Because then other people will start wondering, did I make the right choice? Is there something wrong with me because I'm not like that? Society doesn't like